Hi there. Welcome to Three Essential Questions, New Mexico's business and nonprofit podcast. I am your host, Pam Myers, and I'm here today with Adrien Lawyer. Adrien is the Director of Education with the Transgender Resource Center of New Mexico. And they have so much going on. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Adrien. Thanks for joining today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks so much, Pam.
Yeah. Now you are now you have things to tell everybody regarding the new space for the resource center, right? You've expanded exponentially, all kinds of new services, and you're a published author now, which is super exciting. So start by sharing with the audience what's new with the resource center.
Yeah, TGRC was able to move into a new building in January of this year. We purchased the building last year. We opened our first drop-in center space in January of 2012, and we've occupied three or four different spaces since that started, but all of them were rentals until the building that we're in now today. So it's really exciting not to have a landlord. It's really exciting for us to be in control of our own space and our programming in the space. It's super exciting.
Mhm.
And the building is 14,000 square feet. So it's twice as big as any place we've ever been before. If folks have ever come to see the Transgender Resource Center drop-in space, they'll be absolutely surprised to come to the new building and just see the sheer size and scope of it. And all that square footage means that we have a dedicated youth space for the very first time in our history. We have a dedicated training space and meeting space that we've already been able to allow some friends and partners to utilize. Equality New Mexico did an event in our space. The Community Foundation is going to be doing one in a few weeks over there, and we've had some social LGBTQ social groups in there for some events. And we're really excited to be able to open up our space to our community that way. We have a nurse practitioner, Laurel Walcott. Her practice is called Q Care, and she's working inside the building. She's not on TGRC's staff, but she's there in our space where people can come to one place to find these things. Our friends at Equality New Mexico are moving in with us soon as their legislative session wraps up. So we'll have those partners right in the building with us as well. And then we're still doing all of the services and programs that we've always done out of our physical space in addition to those new things. So it's very exciting, super exciting. We're right at 4th and Constitution, 1515 4th Street. And if folks want to come and take a tour, I'd love for them to reach out to me. You can email me at adrien@tgrcnm.org, or you can call me or text me at 505-440-3402. We'd love to set up a time to show it to you, unless you want to just come stop by when we're open.
Wow. Now, can anyone just walk in? No, people can't. Can they just walk in the door? Anybody can?
Sure, yeah. We're open Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 6. If
Okay.
folks come down who are not trans or non-binary, they'll be referred over to our harm reduction program, which is our one program that's available to everybody. But if folks are not trans or non-binary and they just want to check out the space, I would just say reach out so we can schedule a special tour for you. I mean,
Okay.
you are welcome to come by, but sometimes it's hard for the staff to stop and give folks tours when they're trying to help other folks who are there for services. So if you're
Right.
trans, come by and we'll see how we can help you right in the moment if you want any help, or if you just want to hang out, or if you want to talk about volunteering, we'd say come by anytime that the center's open. But if you want to just check it out, we'd love to make a special time just for you.
What kind of volunteers do you look for on a regular basis? Or
We have a lot of need for volunteers. We have folks who work in the drop-in center helping us do things like serve food, clean up, sort our donations. We get a lot of really great clothing donated to us, and we're always having to go through that and make sure it's washed and categorize things and get, replace the things that are out on the shelf now and circulate things in and out. So there's a lot of jobs that need to be done at the drop-in center for sure. We get asked to do what's called tabling a lot as an organization, which means people have events like the Run for Diabetes, and they'll reach out to other nonprofits and say, do you want to come and have a table at our event where you give out your flyers and things like that? We always need volunteers who could go out and represent the center that way. And if folks are trans, non-binary, or a close family member of someone who is, we also need folks to be panelists with my education department to go out and tell their own stories and help with Q&A when we do training. So there's a few different ways that folks can plug in as volunteers for sure.
Oh, that's exciting. And I've been through a couple of your trainings and they're very, I mean, so informative. I'm exciting. I don't know, exciting doesn't seem the right word, but it's what comes to mind. I mean, they're really, I love the way that you present. And yeah, it's just a really easy, but super educational class every time I've done it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We love doing it, and we love our panelists. When we are able to have time for a panel, our training groups just appreciate it even more. It really enriches the training for sure to hear from a lot of different folks and hear their stories.
Yeah, I bet because it's just one more person that you can relate to.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly.
And now that's a tremendous endeavor to go from a couple of very small rental spaces to did you say 14,000 square feet? I imagine that was I mean, how long did it take to get the fundraise? It must have taken years to do that, to get to that point. No?
Actually, we were so lucky. We had a dear friend who passed away and thought about TGRC in their will and left
Oh,
us a really significant, major gift that enabled us to be able to purchase the building. So it was just a wonderful kind of a windfall.
wow, how wonderful. And at this time in where we are right now in our country, it is absolutely so important for so many people to have a safe space to go through, right? To be able to hang out, get resources, and even go in and you have showers, they can do laundry. Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. We have storage for people's things. We serve lots and lots of prepared meals on the days that we're open. We give out a lot of groceries and non-perishable foods to make sure that folks have stuff to eat on the days that we're not there. There's so many things that we can help folks with if they come by.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there I did a tour back several months ago. Isn't there also a childcare section or?
A youth section, exactly right. We've never had that before. And when we
Yeah.
say youth, we mean teens usually who would be able to come by during our drop-in hours, but we hold our play group in that space now and our parents group as well. So we do have some even younger trans and non-binary kids who are accessing that youth space, and it's really cool to have a place in our building where we can host folks.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you for all the work that you and your team do. I mean, it is tremendous. I can't imagine what it takes to run that on a day-to-day basis with it's a lot, and you're doing a fantastic job.
We're so lucky that we just have such an amazing team of folks doing it. We have 18 staff at TGRC now. And some of those
Fantastic.
folks are part-timers and some are full-time, but they come together as a team to make it work every day. It's really amazing. Oh, and sometimes I forget to say this, Pam, so let me just make sure I say that all of the services we've been talking about, everything that we do for trans and non-binary people is free.
Right. Yeah. Huge. How do we compare with other states in the country right now in terms of resource centers for the transgender community? Do you know? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I do actually. It's a bummer to me. You know, I think when we started TGRC back in 2007, 2008, I think that Zane and I thought we would look up and there'd be TGRCs all over the country, and there still really are not. There are amazing trans people doing advocacy work, doing mutual aid work. There are little organizations that have cropped up just to do service work. But in terms of our size and scope, we do services, advocacy, and education. And in terms of what we do in our budget size, We're one of the bigger kind of state, like regional organizations still in the country, which is not,
Wow.
it's not to us, we're not a big organization, so it's not like a proud thing. It's more of like an example of how there need to be a lot more resources.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Um, and it's, again, times are not the easiest right now for that kind of thing, but it is so important. Talk about the book that you've just published with a couple of other different authors. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Gender transition for dummies. We're so excited.
I love that.
The Wiley Company is the brand that publishes the For Dummies books. So
Uh-huh.
the For Dummies series is wide ranging and has so many different entries in the series. But they reached out to us in the spring of last year looking for folks to write this Gender Transition for Dummies book and really trying to compile in one place. Right now, there wasn't any book on the market that even approached this book in terms of being for a trans and non-binary audience, trying to compile like resources, but also just information and knowledge and ideas about how to find things, how to
Mhm.
find resources. If there's nothing in your area, how do you get online and find resources? What kind
Mhm.
of questions can you ask a medical provider to make sure that they're a good fit for you? How do you find a primary care provider, not just who will give you hormones, but who will know how to work with you as a trans human being so that you can trust them and get quality medical care? So we tried to put a lot of different kinds of like tips and advice into that book for folks thinking a lot about people who live in places without a TGRC.
Right. Right. Yeah. So now this book would be good for allies to read as well, I'm
I
thinking.
think so. I think anybody who's interested in what it takes to go through the process of gender transition would learn a lot from the book. I
Mhm.
even had to learn a lot writing the book because there was stuff that I had to research,
Mhm.
with what they call phalloplasty surgery. So the surgical creation of a new penis for a trans masculine person. They take the tissue to create that new phallus from different parts of the body. And there's
Mhm.
currently about 6 different places that you can harvest that tissue from, and I
Mhm.
didn't even know that there were 6. And so I needed to learn all of the 6. I need to describe all of the 6 in the book. So I feel like I feel like a subject matter expert on some of this stuff. And I
Yeah.
still found myself learning new things writing the book. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that there's anyone who couldn't learn something from this book.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I never would have guessed that either. Like, you think, oh, maybe one, two.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. If you'd asked me, I would have said maybe 3 max, and why do you need that many different ones? But part of it is just the evolving nature of the surgeries too. And as the surgeons learn more, they get better and better and find better, newer techniques. But it
Mhm.
is really, really fascinating to see how broad an area it is when you talk about gender transition. I think even there, people think that we're going to be talking a lot about medical stuff, and we do talk about medical stuff, but there's a whole section of the book that's based on what we call social transition.
Mhm.
So all of the things that folks do as part of a gender transition that are non-medical, but that also can be really profound and really critical in folks' journeys.
Can you give an example of what you mean by that? Like,
Absolutely. Even
happens all the time. No worries.
I mean, my phone silenced and the dang computer rings. Why? Why?
Right. Right.
Yeah, a great example of things that like social transition could involve would be things even like changing your wardrobe, that folks may have dressed in a way where they were trying to blend in as what
Right.
people were expecting them to be. And now they're going to assert themselves and say, no, I'm going to really present myself in the gender that I know is real for me. And that means like buying some different clothes and trying out some different clothes, maybe trying out a different gait, even, thinking about the way I walk or hold my body. People might start trying out a new name before they legally change their name, but they might start experimenting to see how it feels.
Mhm.
Even using a new bathroom, right? Some folks start to use a different bathroom before, or even if they don't decide to take hormones, they could feel that their presentation is such that they're safer using a bathroom that isn't the one that they've historically used. So
Right.
any
Right.
kind of move like that would be more on the social side.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up about bathrooms. I think it's just people don't think, oh, we only have one bathroom at home, and all kinds of people use that room, right? We don't have to label them at home, do we? So then why the hell are they labeled in public?
You said it. You
Man,
said
I don't get it. Um, And are there do you so you I want to go back a moment to talking about the resource center because you said there's a doctor on staff. So the center does not distribute any kind of hormone therapies or anything like that in itself, but the doctor can take care of that. Is that correct?
right. We don't employ her though. She's just a respected colleague, you know.
Right.
She
Mm-hmm.
runs independent medical care called Q Care. And so
Mm-hmm.
she keeps her own HIPAA records. She actually fools with people's insurance, and TGRC doesn't do that. We offer counseling for free, but we don't bill your insurance. We just do it. We just do it. We don't want to have a lot of barriers for people
Right.
in terms of getting our services. But since she's a medical provider, she has to go through all those hoops and be able to use everybody's different insurance to pay for their visits and stuff like that. So she's right there in our building, and it's really amazing that folks could come see her. So maybe some patients of Laurel's are coming to the TGRC for the first time, and maybe they'll come over to the other side and say, oh, I also need help with this, or I need a little case navigation right now, and can you help me with that? So we're
Right.
excited to see how having those two things in one building will help people who've already been using one or the other potentially find the other, you know?
Mhm. And right. And speaking of case navigation, now if someone is having legal problems, do you have somebody there that can help guide and answer questions for them?
We typically have really good referrals for stuff like that. So we have different attorneys that we work with. We have a good relationship with the LGBT Bar Association here in New Mexico. We do a name change clinic about 3 times a year with the UNM Law School clinic students. Our next one is like next week, this week or next week, I think. So we do offer some legal services. What we tend to do with what you're describing would be like trying to find somebody the right referral, trying to find somebody in town that we know would do a good job with their problem.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Um, how, right, like somebody's getting evicted or there's a myriad of things that could be going on in somebody's life, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And some things, interestingly, that seem legal can be solved with like case navigation. You know, if you can find someone who can just advocate with you, someone who can go to a meeting with you and say, I'm from this advocacy organization and our client, you know, feels they're being treated unfairly. Sometimes when folks just realize that someone else is looking, they think twice about how they're treating somebody. You know, sometimes you don't really need an attorney in the way that folks are expecting to need an attorney. So we always like to talk to people because there may be a way that we can help or step in or just be of assistance, you know, without you having to even employ an attorney. You know, you just didn't realize it until we talked more about it.
Right, right, right. I mean, so many times people don't always know who to go, where to go, who to speak to on
Good.
problems that they're having or situations, and just having a resource um, to ask, hey, who do I go talk to, would be tremendously helpful, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
How do how does New Mexico stack up to other states in terms of protections for the trans community?
Amazingly well, actually. We're one of the top states in the country for LGBTQ protections. There's been activists for a long time working in New Mexico to change the law and update the law, even in advance of this current moment that we're in. There were trans activists way before we had a center who changed our state Human Rights Act to include trans people back in 2002, 2003.
Wow. Wow.
And we made our very first efforts to become what would be TGRC in 2007. And that was
Mhm.
like strictly aspirational at that time, you know? And so we were showing up calling ourselves TGRC, but we had support groups and a website and a training, you know? We weren't doing anything like what we're doing now. So there have always been folks. And then I would also say, you know, for a good bit of the history of the LGBT movement in New Mexico, Equality New Mexico has been instrumental in making sure that our state laws are tightened up and updated so that these things don't have loopholes in them, so that folks really are fully covered by the laws of New Mexico, and that we have that backing, and we have that political collaboration, with our electeds here. We feel that they actually do look out for our best interests. And in large part, I would say that's the relationship building that Equality New Mexico and our coalitions have done over these years.
Yeah. Yes. EQ&M is, I'm so thankful. We are so lucky to have strong organization like that in our state that helps represent our community, along with ACLU and Planned Parenthood. All
you are naming the coalition that we work with in the ledge session. Progress Now, Bold Futures, ACLU. These are the groups. Native Voices Vote. All of these folks are groups that we worked with this year and in years past to advance like public safety legislation that makes sense for LGBT people, even things that may not seem LGBT, but we know that LGBT folks are disproportionately going to experience poverty and homelessness, that when we do additional criminalization or additional punishment and think we're doing public safety, we hurt a lot of folks that way. We hurt a lot of LGBT folks. So we're really proud to be in those coalitions helping to make sure that trans voices are heard. But we also know that right now, even if we weren't there, those partners are so strong, they would definitely continue to protect all LGBT folks, including trans and non-binary. So it's wonderful to have that much of a coalition. That's another thing that I think makes New Mexico special.
Yes, I agree. We're very, very fortunate, very lucky. Yeah. And not so much lucky as so fortunate to have, to your point, such a strong coalition of advocates. Yeah. Thank you for being a guest. Is there anything you want to add that we haven't touched upon, Adrien?
No, you've been so great. We want people to run out and get a copy of the book. We're going to buy some at TGRC so we can sell them there. If folks want to get them, they can come to us to get them, but you can get them on any book selling website right now. It's been out for a week. And we'd love for people to come and check out the center. Oh, thank you. Actually, we're having a really cool fundraiser on Sunday, this Sunday, March 30th, from 12 to 2 at Valle de Luna Event Center, way out on Central on the west side. My band, a band named Sue, is going to play for part of the time, and a really cool band called Blue Jay and the Pigeons is going to play the other half. We have free admission, free refreshments, $5 beer and wine, 12 to 2, so you have time to do lots of other fun things that day if you want to, and still come and help TGRC and have a good time with some other folks.
Awesome. And we'll post all that information and links in with the podcast. So yes, thank you so much. Thanks for all the hard work that you do. Thank you and your team.
That's back to you, Pam. We know you're a warrior out there doing all these things too. So thank you so much.
Takes a village, right?
That's right. That's right. Thank you for having me. I hope to talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks, Adrien.